All right, so welcome. Please lie on your back. And take a moment to take a few breaths. However the breath would like to be. No changing for now, just observing. Witnessing, presencing, being present to your breath as it comes in and out. And see what is the first thing that comes to your attention. What becomes interesting the moment you settle down and remove your jewelry or belts or anything in the way of your comfort and take a few breaths. And let's say that whatever you're noticing right now is in the foreground of your attention. It's right in the front, very noticeable. And for you, maybe your contact, maybe an area that is painful or uncomfortable, or maybe just the space for your breath or the lack of space. It doesn't matter. It's not about what can you notice, but just to notice whatever is in the foreground. And now leave that. It's very clear, very loud, let's say, in your experience, and see if you can now pay attention to what's in the background. Meaning what is not so clear, what you have to search for. Almost as if you could change the focus of your eyes between what's really in front of you and the background, what's behind it in depth. So it needs an adjustment. So let's practice today this adjustment of your attention between foreground and background. It might be an opportunity for you to distract yourself from a nagging pain or discomfort, or by choosing to place your attention somewhere else to observe a deeper quality of your rest right now. For example, any minor difference between one side of your body and the other. And even more closely, if you observe that difference between one eye and the other, or one side of your face and the other. Yeah, so that definitely lives in the background, but we can bring it forward and we can pay attention to that. So let's explore this for a moment. Imagine now that you can grab a paintbrush and dip it in any sort of paint color that you like. Just make it some bright color. And now begin painting your right eye and the right side of your forehead and along the lines of the right side of your face. So just dip it in paint and brush by brush, stroke, paint the whole right side of your face, your cheek, the right side of your nose, the right side of your mouth, your right ear, and the skull, the right side of your skull, your head bones, also along the back, the one that is close to the floor, and your neck. And now continue painting along the right side of your shoulder, including your breast, the right side of your sternum, your right arm, all the way to your right hand. And continue painting your ribs and the right side of your belly. So at some point you find yourself with a clear right side of your upper body that is painted in one bright color. And include your side and your back, so the whole right side is painted. And now allow this attention of yours to shift from the details of the painting you're doing into the general shape of the whole right side, so much that you can see if the line of the middle is a thin line, is a thick line, the one that's dividing the right side that is painted and the left side. Is it a straight line? Is it dotted? How is the midline? Now, maintaining your attention on the paint, so you can see the color maybe, or feel the temperature or the vibrancy of the color, begin to make a very small movement with your right hand. You can put the palm up. Begin to make a small movement of the right hand as if you're bringing the fingers together and away. So the back of your hand is on the floor, the palm is facing the ceiling, and you're bringing this colored hand together and away. Feldenkrais called this movement bell hand. Sometimes I imagine, I think he meant that you're holding a little bell. Sometimes I imagine a flower opening and closing. It's just the fingertips coming together and away. That's it. Closing on each other and expanding away from each other. They don't even have to touch. Yeah? And see if you can imagine the color changing somewhat. Of course, if your legs get uncomfortable, you can bend them, you can lengthen them. But right now, the only movement is that of your breath and your hand. Yeah? Your right hand. The fingers come together, they go apart. See what is happening anywhere else, in your mouth, in your tongue, in your eyes. And now see if you can very slowly, every time that you close your hand like this, you make a little bell hand and open it, you protrude your lips as if you're gonna give somebody a little kiss. And every time you open your hand, you let your lips expand, maybe into a smile, or at least lengthen, so they're not pursed together, but they're then relaxed, they're not working. So you go to the rhythm of the hand between putting your lips together and separating them. And see that the breath can give you a very good idea of the rhythm this movement can be done to. In other words, you don't have to move the hand faster than your breath. You can move it to the pace of your inhale and your exhale. Not that you have to sync it with the breath, but just knowing that it could be so slow as the breath is coming in and out slowly. And you're making these lips come together like a little kiss you're about to blow or give somebody, and then open. And then leave it for a moment and rest. And just sense again yourself lying down. What's in the foreground of your attention now? And what is in the background, a little less evident, less obvious, but right there for you to sense, something that you can pick up about the difference between left and right, maybe, the quality of your breath, the sensation on the right side of your face compared with the left, on your right hand compared with the left. Now, grab the paintbrush again, dip it in the same color, and continue painting where you left off. So you will dip now, paint through your hip joint, the right side of the pelvis, all the way to the pubic bone area, but don't go to the left, just stay on the right side. And you paint your right leg, the buttock, the thigh, your right knee, the back of the right knee, all the way down the calf, the bones of the leg, muscles and tissue and anything you can imagine, and the ankle, the top of your right foot, and the back of your right foot. So by now your whole right side is painted in this color. You can go and repaint the top if you want to, just make it uniform, make it coherent, that the whole right side, from the heel and your right toes to the right eye and the top of the head is all painted. Front, back, middle. And again, pay a little closer look at the line of the middle. The line that now divides the left from the right, from the top of your head to your pubic area. Does it go exactly over the middle, or did it spill a little to the left, or is shy of the middle on the belly button, or what is it for you? How clear is it? Now with the next breath, go back to the movements of the hand and the lips a couple times, reducing the efforts everywhere else so they're not loud tension anywhere, but quiet, gentle movements of the hand, so your teeth can be soft and your mouth is moving to the rate of your breath, lips pursing or coming together in a little kiss, extending forward towards the ceiling, and then gently returning to neutral as your hand opens. Now this time, let your right foot participate, so it will bend at the ankle, it would flex and it would extend. And you explore the couple different ways or combinations for this. And now you don't have to make a huge movement with a lot of effort. You can just bend the foot and extend it again and see what does make more sense to you to do. You can see what is your first reaction and then try the other option. Would you flex your foot when your hand comes together and your lips come together, or the opposite? So you try both. Is there a reason to hold your breath, or you can just breathe and explore different options? So you will sense that at some point one of these two combinations or variations is a little more congruent. It's almost like going together. And the other one is a little more like saying yes and no at the same time. So you play with both and see what is congruent to you and stick to that. So you're moving your hand, your foot, your lips a few times to the pace of your breath. And see, is the left side wanting to participate? Is it twitching? Is it getting numb? Is it eager to move too? So just observe that, and you're practicing moving, sensing, feeling, thinking, all at the same time. Now a couple times maintain what you're doing with the foot and the hand and change what the mouth is doing. So the mouth will do the opposite. Just again to sense the combinations that are possible, and how many times we contradict ourselves. We do one thing and it's opposite at the same time. It's possible to purse your lips when the hand is open. Does it feel the same, or is it something more yes and yes about pursing your lips and bringing your fingers together? And these are subtle differences to notice. So it may feel the same way to you because you can do both. But if you look deeper, again, in the background, in what's not so obvious, you may find there's some sort of consistency, some sort of peace and pleasure that comes from flexing your foot as you bring your fingertips together and purse your lips. And then when you open your hand, then open your lips and extend your foot, everything rests as long as can be. Yeah? So now leave it and rest again and sense, what is the difference? Biggest difference between now and the last moment you were resting. What comes to your attention first? What side feels longer? The right or the left? Closer to the floor, more available, ready for movement. So now bring your right palm behind your head. Place your head over your palm, your right palm, and let the elbow rest. If you can, on the floor, and if you cannot, on a pad or blanket, so it's comfortable. And now do the same thing with your right leg. So you bring your right knee out to the side, the sole, wherever you can. You're welcome. Yeah, so the right leg is more or less bent. Of course, not uncomfortable, so it doesn't need to bend a lot, could be just a little. And the right elbow is bent as well. And you paint, again, you just grab the paintbrush and paint this shape now, your right side in this shape. In this shape that your right side is making. And now be so precise with your paint that you're also painting inside your mouth. So also paint your tongue. So you're painting the right side of your cheek. You can paint the right side of the tongue or the whole tongue, because it's challenging. But be sure to paint the whole right side of your face and skull, inside as well as out. So the right side of your teeth. And now begin to explore with the tip of your tongue the teeth from the inside of your teeth on the right side. And for this moment, if the arm or the leg is uncomfortable, you can lengthen it. But if it's comfortable for you to stay this way, stay with the right knee bent and the right elbow bent as you explore with the tip of your tongue slowly the shape of the right side of your teeth. The lower jaw, and then the upper jaw. And then you can go to the outside of your teeth, so the front, but only on the right side, the front teeth. Yeah. So you go tooth by tooth, sensing, and of course opening your jaw helps, and letting your lips be soft helps. You're discovering the shape of your jaw, letting the tongue be heavy and curious. And then of course you can also sense the shape of your lips and the corner of your mouth on the right side. Just stick to the right side. You could brush your tongue on the palate, the cheek. Discover the shape of your mouth and your jaw and your teeth with the tip of your tongue. Slowly as you breathe. Now take a few seconds to rest and make a tiny movement of sliding, as your tongue is now quiet, sliding the back of your head on the floor a little bit so the right elbow comes to the knee, in the direction of the knee, just a little. So you just invite your right side to bend a little bit, just a little. And see how easy is this to do or challenging. You're just moving the elbow towards the knee towards the elbow, keeping your nose to the ceiling. A couple times just to see what it's like. And now rest again over the neutral place of the middle. And let the tip of your tongue now go, instead of exploring all around and wandering, just precisely go to the right side of your cheek, inside. Yeah, just to the right, not of the jaw, but the cheek. And sense what the spine echoes. See if your spine echoes this movement in any way that you can sense right now. In other words, would your spine would like to move in any direction? And you go to the right and return a few times. And once or twice, as you take your tongue to the right, in this particular way, the tip of the tongue to the right cheek, let the elbow and the knee come together a little. So you do it together. You take the tongue to the right and you fold the bending of the elbow towards the knee and the ribs on the right, just a little. This could be so tiny that no one could see it from outside. It could be that small. And see if it makes it easier. If somehow using your tongue in this way facilitates something about this bending that you're looking for. Yeah? Now, a couple times take the tongue to the left as you continue bending to the right. Side bending, bringing the elbow to the knee. And if you go slowly enough, small enough, you're more able to pay attention to the difference and make a distinction. Does the tongue going to the left make it easier to fall to the right in this side bending shape, or more challenging, or the same? Of course, provided you don't hold your breath or be so rough with yourself that you create a lot of extra noise in your nervous system, you might be able to detect some sort of simplicity, again, congruency, consistency between bringing your tongue to the right and bending to the right. It doesn't mean that you cannot do the opposite. And if you have scoliosis or some sort of spinal structural bias where your spine will always go easier in one direction, it might be harder to sense. So don't question your experience. If you sense something different, just observe that. But then a couple more times, just take your tongue to the right as you bend slightly to the right, and see if there's some sense of ease there that you can notice, or at least invite into your experience. And then leave it. Lengthen the leg, lengthen the arm, make them rest again by doing nothing but sensing and feeling and observing. Again, what's very clear, very in the front, in the foreground of your attention. Kind of like a child when he wants to say something and pulls on your leg. Here, mommy, 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 mommy. Talking very, very, very loud, so you can't avoid listening. And then there's something in the background, that other person you want to hear, or the sound, or anything that is important and you want to pay attention to as well. So you shift your attention from the foreground to whatever is available there. So you dig a little deeper. You may be attending to your emotional state, to your thinking patterns, to the state of your nervous system when you walked in the classroom today and right now. And then overall, observe the difference between the whole of your right side and your left side. Now, take another paintbrush, clean paintbrush, and dip it in a different color. And begin painting your left side. Begin from the top of your head, painting the left side of your forehead and the hair, the side of your skull, all the way in direction of the belly. So you're painting your left eye. And see if on this side, because this is now familiar, because you know what we're doing, you can be a little more precise. Feel free to bend your knees if you want to. Precise meaning painting the orbit of the eye and the eyeball and the space behind the eyeball where your brain is, and the left cheek, but also the inner parts of the mouth and the teeth, and you go on with it, but you know what I mean. Just being more curious about imagining what's deep in there and painting that as well. As you go down in the direction of your belly, so you will cover your neck and the shoulder. Maybe paying more attention to each rib this time and the sternum. And see if maybe something is waking up a little bit as you paint it. Something wants to move or wants to be moved. The left arm, the left hand. And as you're painting it, let it begin to move. So you integrate a little movement into the side that is now colored. So you wake up this hand by creating a gentle movement of the fingertips together on the left side. Just slightly. And you paint the back of your palm as it comes away from the floor and the wrist. And you make these tiny movements of the hand, and at some point, maybe you want to add your mouth to it. So your mouth is pursing at some moment and then opening in relation to the hand, and you see What is that for you? You have two options that are clear right now. Might be a third one that we'll discover together. But for the moment, you can make a little kiss with your lips when your fingers come together, and spread your lips when your fingers are apart. Or you can make a kiss with your lips when the fingers are apart, and then spread them when the hand becomes a bell or a closed flower. And if you were to include your tongue in this movement, in this way, when your hand opens, the tongue either comes out or becomes a little curl, rolls itself, maybe rolls up into the palate. How would you play with this? So the combination would be to open your hand and get your tongue to come into a little roll inside your palate, roll itself, go back inside your mouth, or come out of your mouth as if you were showing it to somebody else. What makes more sense to you? What feels easier, more congruent, simpler? So you play with both. You once take your tongue out as your hand is open, let it flap and go in the direction of your chin. And once you roll it inside your mouth, when your hand is closed, and then the opposite, just to see. And when you decide, when you realize what's easier for you, you stick to that. You go with the ease a few times. And not because now we're making the movement a little bigger, though it's still a very small movement, you need to rush or hurry. Feldenkrais made a very beautiful distinction between going fast and hurrying, which is not the same thing. So don't hurry. Just go slowly, and at some point you may be able to go fast with the same efficiency as when you go slow. Many times you'll notice if you hurry, especially around the house, trying to get out or doing something, you begin to drop things and trip and bump and fall because your nervous system is going ahead of itself. And yet, an athlete that is tuned into the maximum efficiency will go very fast without bumping and falling and tripping. So now leave this again and sense the right side compared with the left, and notice how quickly it's catching up, though we're working on it for a lot less time. In other words, how potent or powerful it is, this work you're doing with your hand and your tongue, in your mouth, to make now what maybe was a numb arm or an arm that wanted some life put into it on the left side, now already pretty symmetric to the right side. So now grab the paintbrush and continue painting the left side, same color as the chest, just integrating your hip and pelvis to the torso and the whole of the left leg. And if you have an injury or you have a place where you would like a little more mobility or freedom, just be more curious with that area when you paint, and make sure you paint more of it with more detail. So tendons, ligaments, muscle, bone, anything you can imagine that you pretty much know well because that's the area that you're dealing with. Give it a little more attention, more paint. The paint is the way you access your self-image in the nervous system, in the brain. The more you paint, the clearer you can see it, the better the image, the easier the movement. And when you get to the point where you're painting your left foot, let the image come to life by moving it a little and flexing it. Flex the foot by bending your ankle and then let it rest and see, what do you feel like doing with your tongue? Do you feel like curling it or pulling it out, pushing it out when your foot is bent? So play with both options and see what is easier to do, what creates less conflict in your brain. You may feel that some of these combinations are even hard to do for you. And listen for the hand. When does your hand want to participate and in what way? Does the hand want to go with the foot, the left hand, bending, closing together? Now, if any of these combinations hijack your breath, then you have a clear sign that something is off there. If anything feels like loads of effort or work, then you know the organization is not as optimal, not as ideal or efficient. And of course, observe when you can leave it and take a rest to sense and feel how is now this left leg part of your whole self after just a few movements. And overall, what is in the foreground? What is very clear, very present to you? Or what are you present to? How about your state right now? The sense of yourself on the floor. So now let your tongue explore the left side of your mouth. And again, if your legs need to bend, they can bend. These are very quiet movements today, so don't let your lower back be sore. But let the paint now be very clearly dipped inside the left side of your mouth. So you use the tip of your tongue to look for the teeth and the spaces between them and discover the shape of your palate, your cheek, your lips. Everywhere that you're curious about on the left side. And you'll see that when you get to the place of the teeth, the outer part of the teeth near the lip, your jaw can open. Yeah, and your mouth can open a little. And maybe your jaw will travel a little to the left and you'll feel a yawn coming in or a deep breath. And that's completely fine. Actually, the more you surrender to the movements of your tongue, the easier you will be. So you don't need to keep your teeth held or your breath short. And you'll see with the deeper breaths, the more the back of your throat can open and your jaw separates, and you'll sense, you'll reach a little deeper in the back of your teeth, your molars, the edge of the palate there, the lower palate, the edge between the palate and the teeth, the musculature of the cheek, Now, leave the open exploration and just be more precise. So you go directly to the left side of the middle of the cheek with the tongue. And just sense. Does anything happen to the back of your head or your neck when you do that? It's just the tongue, huh? You're not moving your head much. Right? What happens? Isn't that interesting? Now, what if you were to look to the left at the same time? To make the second side a little more in depth. This exploration of the left side a little richer than the one on the right. What happens when your knees are bent and your feet are standing and you're taking your tongue to the left and you're looking to the left? Do you feel invited to turn the head a little bit left or right? Now hold your breath at the same time and see how that impulse that is so clear when your breath is free gets dampened, gets somehow smaller, less clear. And breathe freely and see if it's clearer to see the relationship between your neck and your tongue, the whole spine and the tongue. Now, how many times do you hold your breath? Because something's happening, or because it's a habit, or because that's your way to move around the world? So how many little impulses of your own self are available to you and that they don't get listened to, they don't get enough attention because there's something stopping it? Something as vital as the current of oxygen through your whole self. Okay, leave it, lengthen the legs, take another short rest, observe, sense, feel. What is going on now between you, the floor, the line of the middle, that beautiful axis where we stand on and pivot around, that is not left and not right? Now place the back of your hand behind your head, the left one, and bend the elbow and place it on the ground if you can. And now bring the sole of your left foot in the direction of the right knee, so your left leg is bent and open to the side. That's right. And now continue doing what you were doing with your tongue. But now your head is fixed in the sense that it's not so much invited to turn because you're holding it with the back of your hand. And go about it slowly, and go about it with a beginner's mind. In other words, you're not expecting the same thing that just happened. You're just observing if maybe something else could happen. Now leave the tongue quiet, bend the left side so your left elbow goes to the left knee and the left knee goes to the left elbow a couple times, and invite your spine to do that, which means the left side of the ribs comes together, the right side comes apart, the back of your head is sliding, not turning. So the nose remains pointed to the ceiling. This is what we did on the other side. Nice. Couple times. And now leave the body quiet, but move your tongue. Leave the elbow quiet, leave the knee quiet, but move your tongue to the left cheek. Yeah. And see if you feel like turning or you feel like bending. If in this configuration now that the knee is not up and the sole is not standing of the left foot, and the elbow is inviting your head to bend and not turn. If you're so quiet with it and not expecting it to be any particular way, but observing, listening, is it possible that the tongue now, in this body configuration, is inviting your spine to bend to the side and not to turn? Yet, it's the same movement with the tongue. So try both. Bend to the side once as you move your tongue, and then turn to the side and see what is easier. Of course, if you're turning, you turn everything. You turn the ribs, you turn your hip. Yeah, not just the head. What is more congruent in this configuration? That when you take the tongue to the left, you bend the left side, side bend, flex to the left, or that you roll to the left and turn? It's interesting. Okay, leave it and rest it. Beautiful beginning of a long exploration we had in front of us with the tongue here. The idea being that depending on the configuration or orientation of your body and your intention, you can move your tongue in multiple ways, in many directions, or move your spine in multiple directions by using your tongue. Now sense any difference in your whole self. Again, what's in the foreground, what's in the background. And now, from all these different variations, we brought our lips together, we opened them in smile or length to the sides, we took our tongue in a curl, we let the tongue come out, we took the tongue to the left and to the right. Choose whatever was easier for you to sense. So I'm sure that one of these combinations of tongue and mouth and was easier for you, hands of course, was easier than others. So select, guided by your own intelligence, whatever was easier for you, and do it now to the left and to the right. So if you were more at ease with the bending to the sides, you put both hands behind your head, bend both legs to the side, soles together, and you go once to the left and once to the right. If yours was easier when you flex your feet and made bell hands, do that. And you can either purse your lips and kiss and then open them, or let your tongue curl and then come out. Just reinforce to your own nervous system, to your own learning process, whatever was easier to sense. And again, look for the differences. You know at this point a couple different variations. Do what is more congruent. What was easier, what was a yes, 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 through your whole self. And do it a few times in this slow and more, say, studious or studious, I don't know how to say that word, approach, and then do it a little faster, a little less serious. Not hurrying, just speeding it up, because you already studied it. You already know how. And see the effects of these movements throughout yourself. Tiny movements that engage your spine, your breath, your whole self in a huge scale. A beautiful expression of the micro that affects the macro. And then leave it and rest one more time, sensing, feeling throughout yourself what's background, what's foreground, how you're more able to switch now between one and the other, so you're not caught up in the thing that is closer to your eyes, to your face, to your attention, but you can switch. You can alternate and maybe become present to both at the same time. And now circling back to the beginning, take a few breaths and sense yourself. And if you can remember what it felt like to arrive and lie on the floor and begin this process, just see where are you at now. In your thinking, your feeling, your sensations. How ready for action are you? And take your time with this, coming back to standing so you don't necessarily interrupt this beautiful quality you're paying to yourself, this quality of attention you're paying to yourself, but look for a gentle way to bend your knees and gently come up, to sit and then to stand, and just sense what is the world like when you come back to gravity. What is the state you are in with yourself? If you notice any difference in the resting state of your tongue and your eyes, some sort of inner quality that has changed. And what can you take with you and use it and play with it, make it yours? The same way when you learn something as a child, you were so excited you couldn't wait to do it again. That is true learning, isn't it? Thank you so much.